Good day, everybody. Woo, the sun is bright. Today we're going to be putting a CV axle in this '09. What is this thing? Toyota Rav4, I think, for a second. But anyways, we got the axle. We're going to pull it in. Let's get started, guys. By the way, don't let me let that unsaid. Thank you for tuning in to We'll Fix It Team. All right, guys, we're gonna put these little scissor lifts are pretty cool. But I have a quickie way of working with these things. If you guys are working in a shop with one and just got to catch this lip, I can just take a 4x4 block. Because there's a few things that hang kind of low on this vehicle. Instead of trying to jam those little things in there, it takes forever to do. I just go around and do this. Works pretty good. Make sure I'm not too far in on that side. And then we're going to plug it in the lift because the cord's real old. Just safety precautions. All right. There it goes up. Hope I'm getting it in camera. My dirty camera frame. Yeah. We're going to change the axle on this driver's side front. So let's, I'll get the wheel off and I'll give you a little rundown. So, like, here is the nut for the main axle. For the front axle. The big nut, and it's a I believe that's a 12 point, yeah, 12 point, something like that. Anyway, it's got a lot of points on it. And the socket you need is just a 30mm, and you can buy these kind of anywhere, but if you don't have that socket, you're gonna be like, And what we're gonna do next is the rest of it's all 17. Just 17mm on this tie rod end. I'll take it loose just so I can have more mobility with the front shock or strut assembly. 17mm, and the camera's going to go upside down right here. I'll just take those bolts loose and I'll put something in that slot, that big hole right here that my camera won't focus on, and tap that. There it goes. Yay. And we'll use that to kind of give us some downward force to slide that out of those bolt holes. Then I have some wire already on this lift here for using a jack stand. I just tie me a piece of wire on the jack stand. I'll loop that around somewhere on this caliper to hold this out of the way. And, you know, it's always a good idea to look at your brake hose and see what kind of length you have on it. And for this case, I have quite a bit of length. But for good measure, if it's not rusted up, it looks like these bolts will come out. I'm just going to take these bolts off and allow this brake line to have free range movement, as well as my wire cable for my speed sensor, because you don't want to pull this thing and snatch that, or, you know, if you don't have any way of easily doing that, just watch what you're doing and watch these wires, because I've seen people do that before, just really overstretch some of that stuff. Something you got to be careful on. Then, but I have a special punch. We'll get to that point here in a second. That it's just, I think I've shown it before in other videos, but I will push in with this with a hammer. Most of the time it moves by hand, but if it doesn't, then we'll go by force after that. All right, let's get there, guys. Let's just get there. Alrighty, so I've got this off, and I didn't use a pickle fork. I just used my trusty hammer, and I made sure the nut was threaded on, and I hit right there. Works every time. Remove the bolts off the bottom side of the ball joint. Get in there with a little bit more camera action there, right there. You see that? Then I've got my little pull point, pulling down. These little bushiness don't look so good, but that's not what it's here for. It's not. I've seen worse, so let that ride. I'm gonna need both hands. All right, well, I've got the old axle out, and I'll tell you how I done it. I had to use both hands again. It's just hard to do things, to do the filmings and the workings at the same time. Now, I applied a little bit of trans fluid that would be applicable for this vehicle on the parts that I'm going to slide in there, and then I'll give you a rundown of how I made the axle, or was able to get it out of there. It was a little wonky. I used my trusty, right there with the broke end on it, was able to go in at an angle and hit with my big hammer. A couple of good pops, and that thing came up, just popped right out of there. This is a video I'm taking for the man that I'm repairing it for, because he wanted to see what it took to do it. And so I'm torquing this now to like 100 and I go about 180 on this thing right here with my big Happy Fun torque wrench. But I need to put my, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Need to put,
You got a quart. Go up there and get a quart of oil. Yeah, down to about a quart. About machine. Anyway.
Well, appreciate you stopping by, Garland.
God bless you.
God bless you too, man.
All right.
I will put the prayers in for your friend.
All right.
And Carol too. All right. Find a place where that bar will stay in. Yeah. All right, so we've got the big nut back down, tightened up, and I just put a couple little divots right there to work that little safety notch. And of course, like I say, you know, earlier I had removed some of this stuff just to give me room to pull that back, hook that back up. We've got this tightened down. I used just the axle alone, by the way. A customer came in, so I wasn't able to cut my video exactly like I wanted to, but to put that axle in, I just used the actual inertia from just being able to pull the axle back, and I used my hand to kind of line it up straight and made sure I was in my splines, and I was able to hammer it in with this shaft right here, just kind of just. And I did take the liberty of pulling this off and checking these slides that were partially stuck. And that helped you later on, because if these pins stick on this side you were just working on, because I could tell somebody to put brakes on it, but they never ever grease these pins. As a shop, you want to try to cross that T and dot that I, because even though it's nothing you did, he'll think that you took that off and may have had something to do with it, you know, even if it happened weeks or months down the road. So I saved that from happening by taking those pins out and using the approved brake grease that goes in there. And I've showed it in other videos. And but I'll show it again in this one. It's actually 4 brake parts, and it says it right there, and it's different from regular petroleum based grease, so don't use that on brake parts. It won't work. All right, well, I'll button those lines up, put the wheel on it, and see if that gets rid of part of that noise that I heard in the front differential. We're going to try it and see. Thanks, guys. I'll be right back. So going to use a torque wrench and go in a crosshatch pattern at 120 foot-pounds torque, and it'll torque these lug nuts down to an even torque spec. We'll drive it and see if that, like I say, see how that does, guys. So get ready for the test drive. All right, guys, so we're backing it up here. Here we go. It's a whole lot better. Used to, when you go from drive to reverse or reverse to drive, it'd go clack real loud. You'd hear something. It wasn't clicking when you were turning. Let's flip the camera. I know it's hot, so let me see. Flip the screen. All right. Yeah, there it is. We're rolling along. Thing's telling me to put my seatbelt on. Oh well. They're doing it. It's got a little noise in the differential as well. Listen to that Chinese torture. Oh, there it goes. It finally stopped. I withstood the Chinese beat torture. So yeah, we'll pull back up to the shop. Look for any leaks that may have arise since we just did this repair. If everything checks out, we'll make an invoice on it, and we'll call it a day. And we'll call the customer, and then we'll call it a day. All right, guys, thank you very much.